Get Tips Globe that will guide you to the next destination in your career. And now, your host, Katrina Brittingham.
Hello. This is Katrina Brittingham, the host of Career GPS and your navigator on your road to success. Today, we are going to be talking about transferable skills. I get that question all the time for people about transferable skills when it comes to transitioning to another career or either going into a new job or role. And I get people asking me, what are transferable skills? Well, transferable skills are exactly what it sounds. Skills that you can transfer from one position to another, to another, to another. So there are 15 that are most asked for in positions. These transferable skills are desirable because if you already have them, your employer does not have to worry about training you on them. Or if you don't have them, you are not going to be considered qualified for the job. You can hit the ground running in any career field and start making contributions right away if you have these 15 transferable skills. All right, so number one is problem solving. Your problem solving skills can help you not only identify that there is a problem, but you can also identify what's causing the problem and find a way to implement a solution to that problem. Employers appreciate it when an employee identifies bottlenecks or inefficiencies in a process or procedure. However, you are more valuable when you offer as a staff member a solution to those issues. And I'll take that a little bit further. Number one, managers hear problems all day, every day. They have problems that they're dealing with. That's what they're delegating you to solve. Okay. So getting problems is not helping your manager, but having a solution to that and actionable steps. So go a step further to say, okay, we can implement this solution. Okay, if you want to implement the solution, what are the steps that it would take to implement that solution? That is the full frame of problem solving. Okay, so when they say they want problem solving skills, they want you not only to be able to identify the problem, they want you to be able to find a way to find a solution, number one, and then find a way to implement that solution. And in your solution, you want to look at certain things like who would be involved, because you might find a solution to a problem and you're not the sole person to resolve it. You might need help. So who would be involved? Is there a cost to this solution? So will they have to dig into their budget to do it? What other departments, if it's something that's cross-functional, would have to be involved in this situation? Okay. How much time do you perceive it would take to resolve the problem? Now, you don't have to know the actual time, but you can give an estimate on how long it might take, because that takes a little more research. And once they decide to accept your solution, more work will go into it, like who's assigned in whatever departments and things like that. But having an actual action plan with action steps is part of the problem solving solution, and it will make you invaluable. Okay. Number two is analytical reasoning. Analytical reasoning is in some ways part of the problem solving process. It is taking the larger problem and breaking it down into smaller problems or smaller bite-sized chunks to find a solution. So, in other words, employers want a staff member who can find logical solutions to a company's problem. So, if you have a large problem that's going on that you found. And like I said, you have action steps. Part of that and those action steps may be the fact that you're breaking that problem down into different steps, especially if it has to do with other departments. There may be some pieces that need to be done in your department, some people that things that may need to be done in IT, some things that need to be done in another operational area. Okay, so each one of those, even though it's part of the larger problem, are smaller chunks. And what is it going to take to get those things done in those other areas? So when they say they want analytical reasoning or analytical skills, that is you being able to look at this problem, analyzing it, analyzing the little pieces and saying, okay, we need to do this. So when it comes to the deadline, the overall deadline for the project may be one thing, but you might have little mini deadlines so you can roll up to meet the bigger deadline. Okay. You may have one huge issue or one huge project, but you might have little micro projects that lead up to the larger solution. So that is part of the analytical reasoning. Okay. Number 3 is critical thinking. Similar to problem solving and analytical reasoning or analytical thinking or analytical skills is what it may be called. Critical thinking is the evaluation and interpretation of information to make a judgment to come to a conclusion or choose a course of action. Critical thinking is more than just reading something and say, well, this must be true because I read it. It's looking at the evidence and evaluating it to help decide if the information is more of an opinion rather than fact, and using it to back up a decision. Or critical thinking could be that you have something that may have been tried and true and may have been factual at one time, but then something comes along to make something less effective or not factual anymore for the situation. So it's your job to look at it. That's like having a procedure manual. And the procedure manual was correct when you first did it and everyone was using it. Everyone thing was using it. But something, some situation has changed. Case in point, we had COVID. There were a whole lot of things that were true pre-COVID in instruction manuals, how you worked and everything. All right, COVID hit. Now, some of those processes and procedures are no longer relevant. People had to implement new solutions. Part of the critical thinking is helping to look at the manual and say, okay, I'm reading this, I'm evaluating this, I'm analyzing this. This no longer works. I'm looking, I'm analyzing, and okay, now this is true. And it's you thinking that through, writing it down and presenting it. This was the old way of doing things. This is how we need to do things going forward. That is part of the critical thinking process. Many employees get it wrong when they say they're critical thinkers, but it's glaringly obvious that something is not working, but they're doing it because it's in the book. Employers need you to be able to think outside of the box, be analytical, be a problem solver, and present something in a manner that is professional to say, okay, we've been working this way, and this is the issue that I'm thinking that's going on. Here's what I've analyzed. This is what we used to do, and it was working well up until this point. But now here are the issues that we're having now that whatever insert here has changed the way we do business. Here's a proposed course of action, and this is how we would implement it. This is all part of the critical thinking phase, the problem solving phase, the analytical skills or analytical reasoning. Okay. So just to put that all in perspective for you. Number four, okay, is leadership. Leadership skills. You'll see that looking for someone who knows how to be a leader or someone with excellent leadership skills. Leadership skills are not only your ability to supervise and manage a team, leadership skills also include your ability to take the lead on a project and get a team to follow you through to the accomplishment and having a shared goal. Leadership encompasses many additional transferable skills like communication, problem solving, and relationship building. Also, I was speaking to someone to just today, and they let me know first off, being a good leader is being a good servant. Many people don't realize that. When you are set up in leadership, you are set up to serve the people who report to you, the people you are alongside with. Yes, leadership can be to manage and to supervise, but a manager and a supervisor is not just sitting there letting everyone do the work. A leader needs to be willing and able to get their hands dirty when they need to. If everyone on your team is swamped and you have a whole lot of work in that's exceeding the capacity of your staff, you need to be able to roll up your sleeves and come in and help. Okay. Taking the lead on a project is helping to organize a project, organizing people, helping them if they get backlog, making sure that they are on track. If they have any questions regarding the process, being there to clarify. Okay. The next step in the process or transferable skills is adaptability. All right. So, as you work in any role, you may discover that you need to adjust due dates, workflow, or even how you approach the job. We found that to be the case when COVID hit. Number one, due dates definitely changed, workflow changed, and the approach to how we work. And it has continued to change. Some jobs are remote and remain remote and will not go back to being in the office. Some jobs have adapted to a hybrid where part of the time you are at work and part of the time you are working from home or remote. You've also had positions turn into a more flexible work schedule. Okay. So that is the key to being adaptable. And when we first started in this, you have some people, and you still have people who have not adapted to being able to work from home, adapted to hybrid. So you have to be able to be, another word for adaptability is flexibility. You have to be willing to be flexible. You have to be able to pivot when you need to pivot. Okay. All right. So, in some cases, with being adaptable or flexible, you may need to learn a new skill to help get the job done. And as I stated before, pivots often happen in business and can happen very quickly. Whether it is a strategy, a product line, or something that's happened due to Mother Nature. So it's not just COVID. You've had areas that had fires, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes. Things can change in a drop of a hat, and you need to be able to be flexible and adaptable, and be able to pivot when you need to pivot. Demonstrating that you can adapt to change shows that you're able to go with the flow while maintaining a positive attitude and getting the work done. So, part of being flexible is not just like, oh, I'm going to do it, it's your attitude while you get it done. I tell people, attitude is, if you have a great attitude, you're 80% there. Okay. Sometimes it can be easy to have a good attitude with a change, and sometimes it may not be. But having an attitude and a positive attitude to get the work done goes a long way. It goes a long way in your leadership, because as a leader, when things change, guess what? It affects you and it affects the team. And the team is watching you on how you handle that change. I used to tell my team when I was working in corporate, when they would complain, "Oh, we got to do this, or something's always changing." I said, "Yeah, that is true. But in the time it's taking you to complain, you could have done what was asked to be done, and it would have been done. So then there would be no more need to complain about it." So that's the thing. Are you going to take the time to complain, or are you going to take the time to get what you need to get done, so that you can get over whatever it is that change is? Because not all change is comfortable, and change is scary. Change always takes a process, um, which is why they have change management. And change management skills is a transferable skill for certain jobs. I don't believe we're going to go through that in these 15 steps, but part of it is change. Change is scary. Change is different. So change takes an adjustment. And if you want to be a leader, you have to be able to handle change well and manage it well, so you can help your team manage it well. Because as a leader, if you do not manage change well, your team is not going to manage change well either. They're looking to you to be the mentor for them. They're looking to you to be the example, because you are the leader. And I many times, working in corporate, even being in business, the biggest monkey wrench to a team is when there was change that happened, and you had leaders and leaderships talking to the staff about how they hate this change and how this change is not going to work. I've seen it. I've seen them do it. And in front of their leadership, they're like, "Oh, this is great." Behind closed, when the leader goes in the office and closes the door, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever." I even had to pull a leader to the side, who was on my team, that was in leadership with me, and I was like, "You gotta not complain about, oh, but this, I get it, and it's uncomfortable, but here's where we are. And if you're complaining to them and the team to do it, you're not going to do it. They're not going to, you're going to try to get them to do it, but you're complaining about it, and you're making it harder for us to get this done." So be mindful of that. If you're looking to be in leadership as a transferable skill, whether you're within a company already or you're going to another company, when change happens, you have to have yourself together properly and handle it properly. Even if you have to go home and talk to your husband, talk to your cat, talk to your dog, talk to whoever it is, you call Dr. Phil and call him. and talk to him about it, but don't talk to your team about your frustrations about this change. That leads us to number 6. Hopefully you can see the 6. All right, which is teamwork. Teamwork means working together as a group to achieve a common goal. All right. So, but being on a team and part of a team are two separate things. Being on a team, I'm on a team, but I may be the leader of a team. Being part of a team, I'm a team member, or I'm on a team, but I'm just here because they assigned me to do it. I'm a part of a team because I'm actively working with the team to make sure things happen, to make sure we meet this goal. And that is a big difference. In my time, many people know from school when you have those team projects and you have that one person, hopefully it's just one person, who sits on the team and has everyone do the work. And they get an A just like everybody else because they were on a team, but they didn't do any of the work. Well, you have the same thing in work. You have people who will sit on a team and won't do anything, but will get the credit once things go well. And if things go bad, then they're saying, oh, well, this is because so and so and so and so didn't do so and so and so and so. Okay. So employers don't want employees to show up, but don't help to accomplish the goals set forth for the team. They want team players who will make positive contributions to the overall success of the group. All right. So again, it's just not just you showing up. It is you contributing to the group. That is you having a piece of the assignment, meeting the due date, coming back for that meeting with results so you can put things together so you can move forth on the program, on a project. That leads us to number 7. Okay? Communication. Yes, communication is a transferable skill, and it is not a skill that everyone has as far as a strong skill. A transferable skill in any setting will require communication in your job. So, communication is broad, communication is just about in every step. Project management, analytical thinking, because how you report your analytical thinking, problem solving. You have to be able to communicate the problem. You have to be able to communicate what the solution is, and you have to be able to communicate the action steps. As a leader, you need to be able to communicate with your staff and those that you are leading. On a team, you need to be able to communicate the results that you have to the team so you can put things together. Okay? So, your communication skills are your ability to share ideas and information in a clear and concise manner, leaving no room for misunderstanding. This means if you are working a highly technical job, you need to know who your audience is. If you're talking to technical staff, you can be more technical. If you are speaking to non technical staff, you need to be able to communicate in non technical jargon so that people understand what is going on. You need the ability to communicate effectively and efficiently. So, whomever you're communicating with understands your message. And that's what I said before, understanding your audience. Also, again, it says clear and concise. Conciseness depends on who you're speaking to. If you're speaking to senior management, you may not be doing an hour presentation. You might be doing a 5-minute presentation, a 7-minute presentation, a 15-minute presentation, because that's the only amount of time that they have to give to you. However, if you're reporting down to your teammates, your manager, direct manager, you may have a half hour, 45 minutes to an hour to communicate. And that time frame is needed to ensure consistency and clearness and conciseness. So, especially if it's something that they need to take away to implement your solutions, or if you have given them a new process and procedure so that they understand the process and procedure so they can carry it out. All right. So I'm going to give this comment and we're going to go to break because we are about almost at the half of the time. But I'm hoping that you are enjoying the transferable skills and you have a better understanding of what transferable skills are. So, with no further ado, we are going to pay some bills.
The business and entrepreneurial world is full of talk. Talk, 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 talk. Enough. We take everything you've learned, leverage it, and give you the actual tools you need to put all the talk into your walk. Attend the conference that's all about action, strategies, and real ROI. Your executive GPS ticket includes access to seminars and workshops where you'll learn business financing, such as loans, grants, venture capital, and angel investors. Business strategies, human capital strategies, such as hiring contractors versus employees. Government contracts. Register today. www.theexecutivegps.com.
And we are back. So we ended with communication before the break, but before that, we wanted to talk about the Executive GPS conference, which is coming up not this Friday, but next Friday, October 29th at 10 a.m. We have a list of speakers who will assist you in your career as an entrepreneur or a small business owner to help you get on track. Maybe you need to work on some of these skills that we are discussing because these skills that we consider transferable skills are key skills for leaders as well as non leaders, and we will be assisting you in certain ways. They have we have sessions on technology. Maybe you need to update your technology. Relationships and building relationships. Maybe you need to learn how to build relationships because just because you are in leadership does not mean that you are good at building relationships, contrary to what people think. Okay. Maybe you, as a leader, have come through some things and took some hits personally, professionally. You need to get back up and pivot. Need to get yourself back on track. We have a presentation for that and much, much, much more. The conference is virtual. Okay. So you can attend in the privacy of your home. If you register for the conference, you will be eligible to have the recording to go back and review the conference as it comes. So go to www.theexecutivegps.com and click on register, and you can register for that conference. And for everything that you're getting, the cost is a nominal $125, which is actually a pretty good rate for everything that you are going to be getting in this conference. So, with that commercial being over, along with the other commercial, we are back to transferable skills, and we are on number 888, which is writing. This will also be listed as communication. What people will say is verbal communication. And we went over verbal communication in number 7. This is written communication. Writing is a communication method, as we discussed. While writing may not be the primary task of every job, given the nature of modern business, writing skills have become an essential element of most careers. Why? Because everything is on a keyboard, and in order to handle things on a keyboard, you have to type. That is written communication. So you have to make sure that your communication is clear, whether you're speaking or whether you are writing. Employees with effective written communication can convey professionally and precisely messages and information clearly despite the lack of visual cues. That means the lack of seeing someone and seeing what their reaction is. Okay? Someone who can write effectively, again, because it's saying employees, but leaders as well. I don't know how many times I've had leaders in leadership put something in writing and it was taken in a certain manner because of what they wrote and how they wrote it. And they had to come back and retract it. How many leaders have we had who have spoken and then had to come back and say, I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry, and I'm so sorry to this whole population of people. More than we would like to admit, or that we would like to, it seemed like every one, at one point every week we was having someone who was in leadership or a leadership role or a role model role having to come back and apologize for something that they spoke or something that was taken out of context or something that they could have been clearer in saying that was not clear. And now they had to apologize and say, well, this is actually what I mean. Well, you do more harm than good coming back and saying, this is what I meant, than to be clear in the beginning. So if you can express yourself well, verbally and in writing, you are a valuable employee or a valuable leader. Part of communication as well is number 9, and that is listening skills. We talked about this in High Tea with Me with active listening. Okay, so listening skills, specifically active listening skills, is a transferable skill that cannot be overlooked, especially if you're in management. To solve a problem for a client or resolve team conflicts, you have to be able to listen and understand what the other side or other sides are saying. If you are not a good listener, you may not truly understand what the speaker is trying to convey to you. And many leaders have gone wrong not being an active listener, particularly when it came to assessing a client's needs. And I have an example of that. I had a leader that was in a situation with me, and we were in a meeting with a client. And I was listening, taking notes. When we left that meeting, we had another meeting in which this leader um, expressed to me what they felt the client's needs were. I let them know I have notes, and from the client expressly said that they wanted X, Y, and Z, not A, B, C. This turned into a disagreement because the manager thought the client wanted A, B, C. I relented and said, okay. And we gave the client A, B, C. When we came back to the meeting, the client said, no, I expressly said I wanted X, Y, Z. Me being who I was at the time, I gave A, B, C, but I also had room for X, Y, and Z, which I presented to my management before then. And they were like, no, I told you they said A, B, C. So we happened to have a spreadsheet, so we hid some fields. But it's a good thing I gave them X, Y, and Z, because they were like, oh, okay, we thought you wanted that, but we anticipated. This is what my manager said. We anticipated you might want X, Y, and Z as well. And so we have it. However, if I had not been an active listener and also prepared in spite of, and this can also, don't get me wrong, be a nightmare situation for you, because it did not have to be resolved in that way and in that manner. But that's wound up saving the meeting and the client, because they was like, well, you obviously did not listen to us when we expressed to you what our concern was. And we were able to deliver something to that client. So it can be a disaster when you're not paying attention and you're half listening. Another way that active listening works when you are staff or if you're with management is if there is a conflict. Many times, active listening has worked for me because it helped me to get to the root of what actually was going on. As we know, when there's a conflict, there's two sides. There's the side of the one person and the side of the other person. As a leader or as management, it is your job to actually find out what actually is going on. Because when there's a conflict going on, one person sees it from their perspective and another person sees it from their own. And listening and actively listening to both sides of what's going on is how you actually get to the root and be able to resolve the conflict. In order to be an active listener in a conflict, you must have both parties in the room to discuss the matter. You cannot speak to one person and then speak to another person. When you do that, the person who may be able to express themselves just a little bit better may sound like they're the right one, but they might not be. When you get those parties in the room, number one party can't say that they said something that they did not say, or that the other party said that they did not say, without that person being able to come in and speak what they actually spoke. Many times, leaders take one person aside and speak to them and another one, and then they make their judgment based on what? How they like this person or don't like this person. But if you bring two parties into a room, it really doesn't matter. If you're really actively listening, you can discern what has been happening. This is what leadership wants. They want you to be able to actually discern what the situation is. Okay. You don't want to be a leader that is seen as being, someone that has favoritism. You want to be seen as someone who is fair. You want to be seen as someone who actually sees what's going on, not taking the side of someone just because they happen to be a good friend of yours, or they might take you out to lunch, or maybe they you know uh kiss up to you. I was trying to think of a better word than that. You want to be able to be a just leader. You want to be able to weigh both sides of a situation. And I'm just checking to see if we have any comments, because I think I missed some comments in the last show, and I want to make sure that I get those. Okay. All right. So do we have any comments? All right. Not yet. Okay. So, all right. Just wanted to make sure. Because I had to come back later and go through the comments. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have anyone who had any comments on the various pages. If you want to make a comment and you want it to be seen and want a response right away, if you go to facebook.com/venture ready, you can make a comment right there and it will come through to us, okay, during the show. So then we'll be able to see your comment. Everyone else will be able to see your comment and we can have a dialogue and you can join into the discussion. I should have said that in the beginning. All right. So, with that being said, we were on the transferable skills. And I just lost my place with the transferable skills. So not good of me. All right. So we were on. All right. So we were on creativity. Number 10, 10, 10, 10. All right. Creativity is always about your painting or drawing skills. Isn't always about your painting or drawing skills. Creativity, unless it's relevant to your role. If you're an artist or you're a marketer, it may be. Creativity is about how you approach tasks and solve problems. Are you an out of the box thinker? Okay, so an out of the box thinker is someone who can think on the fly, number one, but come up with solutions that may not have been thought about by someone else. Okay, or can think about a solution that is different from the usual outcome. Okay. Do you employ novel techniques to help clients understand how to use a product? So that what this means is creativity is if I am explaining something to a client and they're like, I don't get it, and you're going by the book, can you reword that so they understand it? Can you paint a picture? It's not about your painting and drawing skills physically, but your painting and drawing skills metaphorically. Can you put that vision in that person's head? Can they see what you're saying? Okay. So if they don't understand what you're saying, can you reframe it in the way where they do understand it and you're still saying the same thing? Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes you have to reword what you say. We have a whole lot of words in the English language that all mean the same thing. However, everyone does not see those words in the same way because we have many words that have many definitions for that same word. And you have some words that mean the same thing as well. So as you communicate, it really depends on how you're communicating those words of how the person will understand. Okay? Creative thinkers find novel solutions to the problems they face. They use these skills to help their employers see things differently and to solve problems in new ways. Yes, because when you're in your job, you may have to convince your employer, your boss, of a new way to do something and why that new way is beneficial. It takes creativity to be able to frame that because you may not have a manager who's so gung ho in changing the way that things have always been done. So it's up to you to be able to explain it to them and paint that picture where they can actually see the gap and they can see that this solution that you're presenting is a valuable solution. Okay, that leads us to number 11. And I have to do it this way because I only have 10 fingers, which is attention to detail. Paying attention to the fine details mean you must notice everything. And this is what I'll say, not necessarily everything, because no one is perfect. You have to be able to notice different things, maybe things that other people are not noticing. And I don't want to say everything simply because when you are someone who is detail oriented, you will have someone who is quick to tell you when you have made a mistake because it feels like you're always catching theirs. And people are like, oh, this person is not perfect. And you're absolutely right. But you want to catch as much as you can. What I would say also to attention to detail is if you are a detail oriented person, the one thing you will do is check and review. Have someone you trust, maybe on your team, to review it to see if they catch any mistakes. Make those corrections and check it again. That is really what a detail oriented person does. But I'm going to read this definition anyway to you because, again, I don't like that that you notice everything because absolutely no one notices everything. Absolutely no one. So, with that being said, you go through projects with a fine tooth comb to make sure that everything is correct and nothing, no matter how small, gets lost. Again, there are ways to do that. It's not necessarily just you. You're going through it, you're having someone else go through it. You may even have someone else go through it, and then you go through it a final time just to make sure that everything is correct and nothing, no matter how small, gets lost. Being detail oriented means your employer can count on you to pay attention to every detail in an assignment and to catch errors and correct them as needed. And I will go on to say that your team can do that, or there are ways to have yourself be detail oriented. There are ways to even learn how to be more detail oriented. It's just like when you wrote a paper in college and they said, when you do it, you proofread it, you have someone else proof it. It is the same thing when it comes to business. You just have to make sure you have the right person review it, just like you had the right person reviewing your paper. If you knew the person that you were going to have review it was not good at grammar, you pretty much knew that they weren't going to catch your errors so that you can correct it. Is the same thing on a job. Okay. So it also means that you are intentional about how projects are executed, and there is strong reason behind all of your decisions. Okay. So that is a detail oriented person. Detail oriented or attention to detail. When you see that in a job description, that is what that means. Number 12 is project management. Project management skills help you manage tasks from start to finish. So we talked about working tasks. Now we have managing the tasks. Are you a good project manager? A good project manager makes sure everything stays on time and adjusts the timeline when things are not going as planned. Employers want people who can not only see a task through to the end, but can visualize the needs that will be necessary to complete the project. Okay. So, this transferable skill helps ensure that deadlines are met and projects are completely effectively and efficiently. Okay. So that is what project management means. There also are some project management tools that they have out there, okay, that you may have to use electronically. There is project management methodology. So, you can be able to plan and do all of that stuff. For some positions, they may want you to have that extra information. Okay, so you can always look that up, look to see if you can take a class on it. Through they have online programs that are pretty low cost, like Udemy, and Linda, which they changed to something else, but it was Linda. So if you look up Linda, the new name may come up, where you can get trainings that are maybe like $20, $30 to learn these skills and these skill sets to help you on your journey. Even if you are in leadership, it never hurts to take these courses, because you can always get better at these things. Number 13 is relationship building. Relationships are often the key building block of any company. Okay. Whether you are in leadership, whether you're an employee, you need to be able to relate well with people and be able to build upon the relationships. Whether it's a client, whether it's an employee, whether it is a colleague, whether it is another business connection. Okay. Without good relationships between departments or with clients, there won't be any business. And that is true. If there are not good relationships between you and your manager, or your manager, you as a manager, and your staff, you won't have a business. And there are some leaders who just don't understand that. You have to have a good relationship with your staff. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to be best friends, but what I found is sometimes you have leaders who want their staff to be so flexible, but they're never flexible. They want their staff to be flexible, but they don't provide anything that allows for work-life balance. Okay? You have to have that balance. People who build relationships, manage conflict or differing goals, and help parties arrive at a solution. Okay? Part of that relationship building, and I was discussing that today, is to be emotionally intelligent, to be empathetic. Guess what? Because just like anybody else, you could have a bad day. Your staff member could have a bad day. Your manager could be having a bad day. So, based on that relationship and that relationship building and your emotional intelligence, you will be able to adapt so you can keep that relationship intact. I was just telling someone today, everyone has a bad day, and I'm pretty good at picking up on people, and so I know when someone could walk in the room. I'm like, "What's wrong? You okay? Do you need to talk? Do we need to go for a walk for 15 minutes?" Or they can come in and whew, excitement is coming off, and I'm like, what happened? I'm ready to celebrate with you. This is all a part of relationship building, and you might not be extreme like me. But being able to build relationships, being able to be empathetic will help you to manage the situation. Maybe you don't feel comfortable enough, be like, oh, what's wrong with you? Or this. But when you're in a meeting, you will know how to react and to respond in that meeting, especially if that person doesn't react the way you expected them to react, or with the same gusto, like, yes, let's get this done. Because it might not be what you're assigning them. It could have been that they had a horrible morning. They could have got up and ran out of gas on a highway and had to get gas, or got a flat tire, or different things can happen to kind of throw off people's day. And so we need to respond to that in a proper manner. Number 14 is computer skills, or digital literacy skills, or office skills, or SAS 70 skills, whatever that technology is that they're looking for you to have. So you may not be a tech whiz, but it is always good to know your way around many software programs. The most common is Microsoft Office, which is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and excuse me, and now Teams and OneNote. It is a good example to have. It is good, a good idea to have that. Okay. For example, if you know how to work one type of spreadsheet, the odds are pretty good that you know how to work any spreadsheet, which means that the company will not have to teach you the basics. What that means is if I know Microsoft Excel, 9 times out of 10, I can work Google Sheets. Or if I know Google Sheets, 9 times out of 10, I can work Excel. The same thing with Microsoft Word versus Google Docs or Google Docs versus Microsoft Word. And the list goes on and on because for every program that Microsoft has, as far as an office program, Google Docs had, not Google Docs, Google has. It's just named something else. I believe PowerPoint is slides or something like that. So learn the basics of it. Again, you can Google the lessons for it with Linda or Udemy. With some of these programs, you can get a certificate to say, yes, this person has this level of knowledge. And I'm doing a good job. Yay for 2 shows. I am on the last thing, and we are at the top of the hour, and we have not gone over. So I'm so happy about that. And number 15 is management. Management is so much more than assigning tasks. I tell people that all the time. It is also making sure people get things done and helping them overcome any stumbling blocks they may encounter. Let me say that again. It is also helping them overcome any stumbling blocks they encounter. It is not leaving them hanging or, oh, you should just know how to do it, or, oh, you should take accountability when clearly there is help that is needed. And it's not saying that, oh, they can't do the basics. There are times clearly when your staff member does need help and needs input. It does not mean that that staff member is inadequate. It just means that there is some help that needs to be had. That is different than someone who will come running to have a basic question that they know that you've gone over 10 times, that they've gone through training through over and over and over again to do. And many people know the difference between that. That is just the difference between a good leader, a great leader, and a not so great leader or a poor leader. Okay. Management skills enable you to make sure that people are where they need to be and that they are completing tasks effectively. So, as a manager, you need to be able to coach and mentor your staff member. Now, there are times because I have had a situation where I was in a leadership role and we tried to, those of us that were in leadership, train this person over and over and over. I mean, we really went through coaching and this person really was not getting it. And when we were in our meeting, we all, with some reluctance, had to admit that this person just was not the right fit. We tried everything to train this person. We tried different steps, different methods, different methodologies, and they would say they had it, and it seemed like they had it in the training. And then they would get back to the floor, and it was just like, okay, what? I thought this person got it. They just were not a good fit. And sometimes that happens. But many times you have leaders in leadership who are not coaching people. And then they wondering why people fail and they can't keep people. And they'll say that it is the employee's fault when it's really not. It's just poor management. Okay. So, with that being said, these are 15 transferable skills. There are some other transferable skills out there, but these are 15 of them. If you have any questions about transferable skills or you need to be coached on that, We do provide coaching on transferable skills for executive leadership, management, and also for non-management staff. You can reach us at www.ventureready.net. And we do thank you so very much for joining us for this episode of Career GPS, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Career GPS. Join us next Wednesday for more insights from career experts and thought leaders from around the globe who'll help you reach the next destination in your career. To be a guest on the show, contact us at info@ventureready.net or call us at 888-712-4956.